Everyone, and welcome back. As always, I'm your girl, Candy Washington, and today we are going to be diving into what I think it might be the real reason why Kyle Richards is hating and disrespecting her big sister, Kathy Hilton, all over these Bravo streets. But before we dive in, you guys know what to do. Be sure to like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit the notification bell so you don't miss it when we go live. Also, be sure to share this with a friend or any type of Bravo, pop culture, reality TV community that you're in. Be sure to drop the link to the video or my channel and share, because a kiki is always better with community. And check out the description box below for all of the goodies. And we have our Love Collection merch right down below. So with that, let's dive right on in. So just as a preface to all of this, we all know that Kyle Richards has been receiving some major backlash because she's been super disrespectful to Kathy in general, but in particular this season and in Aspen. She's just been really going after how she dresses, being disrespectful when she was trying to promote her children's vodka line. And also allowing, and this to me was the biggest part, she not only allowed, Lisa Rinna and Erica and Dorit and Diana to be disrespectful to Kathy, but it seems like she egged it on, almost like it was pre-planned. The whole situation to disrespect her with putting her in the bunk beds, that was clearly pre-planned between Kyle, Rinna, and Erica. You could tell that they had gotten together and were like, we're going to give Kathy the shittiest room because we want the better rooms. You could tell. Again, everything in this episode is alleged and rumor, but in everything I say, you could tell or anything like that. It's just my opinion, my objective, right? So let's get into it. Now, you might be thinking, why would Kyle hate her sister this much? Well, let's do a deep dive. Number one, as we can see, this is from back in All right, so the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because I'm going to do a deep dive timeline into the beef between these two sisters, right? So, as we all know, back in 2021 was when Kyle, screamed in the limousine, we don't talk about it, but we're going to say it, Kim, you're an alcoholic. And it was like this huge, big bombshell exposing her sister as, allegedly having some substance and alcohol abuse issues. So, of course, this drove a big wedge in between the sisters because as famous as they are, as in the limelight they are, of course, Kathy Hilton and the sisters like to control the narrative. They like to control what's out there, the stories that get out there, how they're seen in the public eye. So I believe that I believe that Kathy then took Kim's side in the dispute and caused a big rift between Kathy and Kyle. So now we see why Kyle always feels left out. She always feels like, none of her sisters like her. All her sisters hate me, blah, 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 without saying maybe they're mad at me because of what I did. So this is sort of the beginning of the public's knowledge of the feud with the sisters, but clearly there's probably been divides for decades, how families are. Okay, and again, I want to cite my sources. All the sources that I cite in this episode are from Us Weekly, and they're also from Radar Online. So I want to cite my sources. So that is back in 2010. All right, now let's jump to Kyle's situation with Mauricio and Rick Hilton. All right, so let's read this one, you guys. Oh, my bad. Let's put that one back up. All right. Okay, boo-boo. Here we go again. Here we go again. Now, remember, we're doing the timeline. 2010, Kyle and Kathy have the falling out because Kyle calls Kim an alcoholic on the show, season 1, Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. Now we're in 2011. Okay? Now we're in 2011. The issue with Mauricio launching the agency in 2011 is this. He did it behind Rick Hilton's back. So Kyle trying to be like, oh, he went off on his own like people do. She's trying to sort of gloss over the core issue of why Rick Hilton doesn't F with Mauricio anymore. So like it said in the article, Mauricio was working for Rick Hilton at Hilton and Highland Company. It's a real estate agency. I believe they do commercial real estate. They also do residential real estate, it seems like. So it's a big real estate agency. It's huge here in LA, international, whatever, right? So Mauricio had big expectations for himself, right? He wanted to move up at the corporate ladder. He wanted to become a partner at Hilton and Highland. However, it seems as though Rick and maybe the other executives, the other partners, just did not see that for Mauricio for whatever reason. Maybe they didn't trust him. Maybe they didn't think he had what it took to be a partner. They had no problem with him working there. They had no problem with him moving up, but they did not see Mauricio as partner material. Okay. Mauricio then decides to, behind Rick's back, and mind you, Kathy has always been the richer sister. She's always been the one with the most money. She married a Hilton, like, hello. And so, Rick gave Mauricio a job. And then they're also saying that Kathy and Rick had helped, Kim financially. They had helped Kyle and Mauricio financially. So it's like they had been giving them employment, giving them money, giving them access, giving them, a little bit more clout. Because it's one thing to be like, oh, I was on Little House of the Prairie 20 years ago. It's another thing to say, like, Paris Hilton is my niece, Kathy Hilton is my sister. You know what I'm saying? It's a different type of cachet, particularly in the LA Beverly Hills world, right? So being associated with Kathy and Rick gave them money, gave them access, gave them prestige. So I'm not saying that you necessarily like owe your success to anyone, because just because someone helps you doesn't mean you owe your success to them. I don't think that we need to be indentured to anybody, but I do think that there has to be a level of respect, particularly if someone helps you, even just because someone's your family, quiet as it's kept, they don't have to help you. Strangers don't have to help you. Your families don't have to help you. Your friends don't have to. Nobody has to do anything. There's a feeling of when they don't, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's your family, but nobody has to do anything, to be honest. Everyone's adults in this situation. Nobody has to do anything. So to me, it's not so much that Mauricio started his own agency. I get it. You want to be a partner. You don't see you're going to get that working here. You want, more for yourself and for your family. I get it. but be honest with it. Go to Rick. The problem is that Mauricio did it behind his back. And that's a snake like move to someone who's given you a job and to someone who has helped your family, financially and reputation and power and access and influence, right? Go to Rick and be like, hey, I would absolutely love to be a partner here, but I understand that's not the future you guys see for me. I'm going to go out. I'm going to start my own agency. I'm going to start my own stuff. I'm not asking for your permission. It would be great to have your blessing, but I'm just giving you the respect to give you the heads up. Because again, he doesn't have to ask Rick for permission to do anything. He's a grown man. If he wants to leave and start his own agency, he's allowed to do that. So I'm not saying that he needed Rick's permission, but I think that he should have given him the heads up just out of respect, out of personal respect, out of, business respect. To me, it was just a snake move. Not only did he go behind his back and start his own agency, but he also poached. He poached clients and he poached other agents. And that is also slimy, right? So the reason why Mauricio didn't tell Rick was because he wanted to be able to take clients with him. He wanted to be able to take other agents with him when he started his own agency. So basically, he went behind Rick's back, poached agents, stole clients, and then started his own agency. So that started a big riff, a big, big riff between the two families, between Kathy and Rick, and between Kyle and Mauricio, obviously, right? So there was a big tension there and all of that stuff. So remember, that was back in 2011. Now these two people are beefing. Now let's see what this one says. Okay, so now we know that 2010, Kyle had the falling out because she calls Kim an alcoholic. 2011, Mauricio goes behind Rick's back, steals some clients, steals some of his agents, and starts his own agency. 2015, um, what do you call it? Kyle starts developing American Woman. As we all know, it debuted in 2018 for only one season, but she's saying that also caused a big rift, another rift between her and her sister Kathy. So again, Kyle is feeling like Kathy doesn't have my back. Kathy doesn't support me, X, Y, and Z. I believe that, and again, everything is rumored or alleged, but I believe that Kathy even tried to stop the series from coming out, kind of the way that they stopped Kim's book from coming out. Kathy was trying to stop the series. She didn't want those stories out there. She didn't want that. But honestly, in this particular time, I'm kind of siding with Kyle because, like she said, this is my story. This is what I experienced with our mother. This is what I lived through. You don't own my stories. You don't own my experience. And as we all know, TV series are always loosely based. They're always fictionalized. It wasn't a biography. It was just, this is the premise of it, loosely based on my life. I'm going to tell some stories, and then they're going to have TV writers to write the stories out. So on this side, I'm kind of siding with Kyle on this one, because I think that Kyle has the right to tell her story and what her experience was. But again, I think it kind of gets that seed of resentment and bitterness into Kyle when it comes to her sister Kathy, because I think she's just like, why don't you have my back on this? What is going on? So that's another big reason why these two sisters have had a falling out. Now let's go to the bad. Okay, so now we know again in 2015, there has been sort of this Mauricio is not allowed to attend Hilton events. Ever since in 2011, when he went out on his own behind Rick's back, he's been banned from Hilton events, Hilton gatherings, to the point where he was not allowed to come to Nikki Hilton's wedding. Honestly, Kyle almost wasn't allowed to come to the wedding because the rift was so deep, right? Kathy never thought that Mauricio was a good fit for Kyle, just giving everything going on. And so now in 2015, he's not even invited to Nikki Hilton's wedding, which is pretty deep. That's a pretty deep move. You can't come to the wedding, you're not invited. Obviously, she ends up going. But again, that's a big riff. That's a big beef. That's a big FU. And then what it also does is puts out in the media and the press, well, why can't Mauricio come? Why isn't Mauricio allowed to come to Nikki Hilton's wedding? And then you have, YouTubers, bloggers. Back then it was probably just, Us Weekly and Life and Style and all of the gossip rags, then dredging up, oh, well, Mauricio is accused of, going behind the back. Oh, Kyle is accused of calling out Kim for being an alcoholic. So the fact that essentially the Hiltons were blacklisting Mauricio and Kyle sort of put into the limelight all of the issues that Kyle and Mauricio were doing. All of the backstabbing, all of the betrayals within the family. It really shed a light on that. So that was a big, big thing as well. Okay, now let's move on to the next one. Let's see here. Let me make sure I have this in order. Okay, let's see what this one is, you guys. We'll get back to that one though. Let's see what this one says. Okay. All right. Now, let's get into it. So, in 2019, I had a slide for that one. I don't know where it went, but again, this is all in Us Weekly and Radar Online. So, in 2019, allegedly, there was this big reconciliation between Kathy Hilton, Rick Hilton, Kyle Richards, and Mauricio Umansky, right? So, apparently, there was like this reconciliation. They came back, everything was cool, boom, kumbaya or whatever, right? Ironically, I believe this is also around the time where Kathy decides to join as a friend to the show, because everyone was saying Kathy needed to do some of her own PR damage control. Because there was a lot of backlash with Paris Hilton's documentary that she did on her life. So Kathy wanted people to see her in this new light, and really sort of clean up her reputation, since everything had went down during the Paris Hilton documentary. So that's why she finally decided to join the show, and there was this huge reconciliation, right? Well, there's that. There's also in 2019, which I believe is this one, you guys. Let's see what this one says. Because remember, Kathy always said that, well, allegedly, rumor has it, Kathy has always said, Mauricio isn't good for Kyle. There was a reason why Rick Hilton would not make him a partner. Was it trust issues? Did they think that something was going on? Was Mauricio kind of a shady business guy and they didn't want to bring him on to partner? And then we'll get into another thing. So let's see this one. Let's read it. So all let me break down what this means. Okay, so what this means is, and this was in 2019, and the reason why I bring this up is because, again, remember, Rick never wanted to bring Mauricio on as a partner. A word on the street, he didn't trust Mauricio. He thought he was a shady business person. He did not want to bring him on. So basically, what this lawsuit is saying, and this is just one of many lawsuits against the agency. You guys can Google it and check it out. Again, alleged, rumor has it, but just Google it. But this is one of the more famous ones that popped up. So allegedly, this is what happened, okay? The son of the president of Equatorial Guinea in Africa, I don't know what he did. He did some weird, shady stuff. Anyway, he had this huge estate here in America. And he was fined by the federal government, X, Y, and Z. And they were like, okay, you need to sell the home. And then when you sell the home, whatever, you'll have to pay this portion of the proceeds to this fine. He signs on with Mauricio of the agency to sell the house, right? Mauricio then partners with the person who bought the house, another man named Mauricio Oberfield, right? So he partnered with him to sell the house for, I think it was 32.7 or $32.5 million, okay? That's that. That's what he sold the house for. So the president's son, that the guy Mangu, if I'm saying his name correctly or not, I'm sorry. I don't mean to disrespect. I just don't know exactly how to pronounce the name, right? So he's like, okay, boom, I sold your house for $32.5 million. Here you go. So Mangu then takes that money. He pays the U.S. government. But then he finds out, whoa, wait a minute. Mauricio actually now owns the house he sold to me. And then Mauricio then went and flipped it. He then went and sold the property for $70 million and made a profit of $37 million. This is so dirty. This is so grimy. So basically, could you imagine you're selling your house and your real estate agent partners with somebody else, doesn't tell you, buys your home for a lowball number, and then turns around and sells it for triple, double what they bought it off of you, and then made a profit. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. This is fraud to the umph degree. Number one, I don't know, is it legal for your real estate agent to buy your house from you? I don't know if that's legal. I don't know. I'm not a real estate agent. I don't know, residential law, property, or anything like that. But to me, if it's not illegal, it's definitely unethical. Mauricio allegedly never disclosed to this man that he had partnered with someone who was going to buy the property. So they bought the property for a low number and then they flipped it for a high number for a profit, basically completely playing this man, completely scamming him. And so that was a huge lawsuit. So was Rick and Kathy wrong? Was Rick and Kathy wrong? Now we're like, oh, well, maybe this is why he never moved up to partner, because he's capable of doing shady and fraudulent business like this, right? Now, let's not also forget about the cheating allegations. So this blind item, this is from the All About the Real Housewives. Remember this blind item? This West Coast housewife would have had the best storyline of all time if everyone knew about the affair she was having with the husband of another housewife. Now remember, everybody thought this blind item was about Dorit. That Dorit was having an affair with Mauricio, right? We've all talked about that. We've all seen the situation X, Y, and Z. Now, let's talk more about Mauricio's alleged cheating allegations. So again, was Kathy wrong? Was Kathy wrong? So we all know that Mauricio has had cheating allegations follow him for decades, I mean, at this point, they've been married for so long, for decades. We've had Mauricio's cheating allegation. There was allegedly a woman who was a sex worker who then went off and wrote a book saying she had slept with Mauricio, that she even invited in a third party who was a trans person. Again, when we talk about anything to do with sexuality or identity or anything like that, we do it in an inclusive way. It is no disrespect to anybody. But the sex worker said she invited someone in who was a trans. They had a threesome. He wanted them to dress up as police officers and do all this weird stuff. There's also been allegations that a woman, I believe, said that she had sex with Mauricio in a bathroom while he was out. PK was there. She knew that Mauricio was with his wife, but she didn't care. There has been a lot of rumors about Mauricio cheating on Kyle over the years. And now we have the bombshell rumor that he's cheating on Kyle with Dorit. Now, is it an ongoing affair with Dorit? Did he hit it and quit it one time? I don't know. We don't know. These are all allegations. These are all rumors, but it's out there. And the fact that it's escalated from, Mauricio's out there maybe sleeping with, hot LA girls, or, maybe hitting on, whatever the case is, to him cheating with Kyle's best friend, Dorit, who is her co-star. That's a huge escalation. I'm not condoning cheating. I'm not saying anything like that, but it's one thing for your husband to cheat. It's another thing for your husband to cheat with your best friend, right? So that is escalated. So was Kathy wrong? Again, allegedly, Rick and Kathy never really thought that Mauricio was the one for Kyle. Also, don't forget, back in 2010, during the time when Kyle was outing Kim as an alleged alcoholic, substance abuse person, right? Don't forget what Kim said. Kim said, "You and Mauricio stole my house. You and Mauricio stole my house." So all the way back then, allegedly, Mauricio was doing shady real estate businesses, stealing homes from people, allegedly, and then now the agency has all of these different lawsuits. Mauricio allegedly is, doing backhanded deals, going behind clients' back, basically lowballing them and buying their property for them for a low amount of number and then flipping it for $37 million profit, X, Y, and Z, right? You wonder why and how Kyle went from, being not that wealthy. To be honest, sure, she had some coins, but she wasn't at the level she is now. Is it the Bravo check? I don't think so. You know what I mean? So the fact that allegedly Mauricio made $37 million off of a very fraudulent, shady business deal, maybe there's a reason why Rick didn't want him as a partner. You see what I'm saying? But also when it comes to that, I need to do a deeper dive into, we cannot forget there's that 27.4 allegedly $billion lawsuit against Tom Girardi and Bank of America and Merrill Lynch. And named in the lawsuit is Rick from Hilton and Highland, and also Mauricio from the agency. So we got to get some more information on that, because I'm just confused as to how Hilton and Highland is working with the agency when clearly there was such a big beef there. There was such a, because Mauricio went behind the back. So we'll have to find out. We will have to find out how that worked out, how they were working together. Because from everything that I've seen, everything that I've read, I don't see Rick Hilton ever going into business with Mauricio. So when I did the deep dive, it kind of made me realize, maybe Kyle is just out for some revenge. Maybe she's just out for blood. She's jealous of her sister. We know she's jealous of anybody that kind of shines brighter than her. Look at what she did to LVP. But maybe this is Kyle's way of saying, this is how I'm going to get my sister back. I'm not going to protect her from being disrespected from my friends. I'm not going to, pay any attention to her when she's trying to promote her stuff. I'm just going to diss her. She didn't support American Woman, so I'm not going to support her tequila. She took Kim's side when everything blew up, when I called her an alcoholic and she accused Mauricio of stealing the house. So I'm not going to take her side when it comes to her and Lisa Rinna. It just seems like maybe Kyle has not been able to have a perspective, other people's perspective on everything that's gone on. I'm not saying Kathy is 100% right, but I get how Kathy would want to protect Kim. I get how Kathy would stand by her husband when Rick clearly saw something shady and untrustworthy in Mauricio. I get why Rick would be pissed off that you went behind my back and you stole clients and you stole my agents and started your own agency when all you had to do was just come to me man to man and give me the heads up. I get it. I get it. And so I think that maybe Kyle is feeling like American Woman flopped, was only one season. Her Eileen by Kyle boutique and all of that stuff. I'm not sure that that's still even a thing or what's going on. I don't think that worked out. And then all the cheating allegation when it comes to Mauricio. Maybe there's some like spite there. There's some kind of I told you so there with all of the allegation that has come out about him, being unfaithful and cheating. So there you have it. That is over a decade-long beef between these two sisters. I'm sure it started way before 2010, but that's when they first got into our public eye in this way. Also, don't forget, I'm sure that Kyle and Mauricio are probably still pissed at Kathy and Rick for disinviting Mauricio to Nikki's wedding, disinviting Mauricio to any type of Hilton's event, which sort of opened up the gate for the media and the gossip blogs to be like, well, why? Why is Mauricio not invited? And then we do our deep dive into everything that's happened between this family. It's really been Rick and Kathy versus Kyle and Mauricio, as we see for over a decade, with fraud allegations, with people being sued, with all of the cheating allegations. Did Mauricio steal Kim's house? Did Mauricio, really screw over his clients? Is Mauricio cheating? Has he been cheating? If so, with Dorit? Like, all of this stuff is coming up. And it just seems like Kyle is taking out all of her I told you so's, all of her frustration out on her sister. Where I think that Kathy really has been trying to protect Kim and Kyle. And I just think that Kyle's own ego and Kyle's own wounded inner child doesn't give her the emotional intelligence and perspective to see that Kathy is actually trying to have her back. Because I think sometimes when people go through trauma, when people go through abandonment, when people go through, whatever it is, it skews the way they experience the world and excuse the way that they receive other people. So I think that if Kyle kind of took a step back and really looked at the situation, I think that she would see that Rinna just uses her, that Dorit is not your friend, and that as dysfunctional as your family has been, in this particular instance, I think Kathy, who is your sister, I think she's actually the only one who truly cares about you and who truly wants to have your back. And I think it's a shame that you don't see it because of your own insecurity and your own wounding that you have not yet cleaned up. So, you guys, there you have it. Though that's my 2 cents, but I want to know what you guys think. Put it down below. Do you think that, the Aspen Big Nothing Burger, how Kyle has been so disrespectful to Kathy for this last season or two, do you think it's rooted in this sort of starting in childhood trauma that has bled into their adult lives, buying for their mother's attention, buying for their mom to say, hey, this is how you get men, this is how you become famous, this is how you get money, all of that stuff. Do you think that all of that is still weighing on Kyle and she hasn't properly let it go and digested it? And maybe this is her way, consciously or subconsciously, of getting back at her sister. Let me know in the chat box below. But before you do, you guys know what to do. Like this video, subscribe to my channel, and hit that notification bell so you don't miss it when we go live. Also, be sure to share this with a friend because a key is always better with community. And also, check out the description box below. Hit that super thanks and check out all of our merch. We got some cool, sweatshirts, hats, not hats, but we have mugs and a lot of other stuff. You guys know what I meant. Go ahead and check it out down below. And as always, everybody, take care of yourself and each other. Bye.
Welcome to Sugar Pills, a practical guide to self-care, where your host, writer, actor, and producer Candy Washington helps you live a more joyful life with a cheeky dash of pop culture news. Be sure to subscribe, leave a 5-star review, and join the conversation on Instagram at Candy Washington. Let's go!